Welcome back to the Agents Confidential podcast. I'm Eric.
And I'm Yana.
And we're excited to be talking to you today about branding your business.
Yes. Branding is one of my favorites. And I feel like this is something that agents need a lot of help with.
Yeah, it's interesting when you get started into the business. You're thinking maybe more almost like it's just like a job.
Yeah.
But as an independent agent, you being the business owner, a lot of people want to kind of create something original for themselves. Most agents name it, using their own name and things like that. And it's interesting too, because you don't know what it's necessarily going to grow to. I'm a big fan of the movie, The Founder. It's the McDonald's story about Ray Kroc. When the McDonald brothers started that business, it was not to grow it to billions of dollars in revenue. They were trying to make a living, which I think a lot of our agents fall into of saying either, we joke around that nobody grows up wanting to be
an insurance agent,
fireman, policeman, even, professional athlete get all the attention. And then we find out we all can't or don't want to do those things. So there's always insurance, and we're happy to have all of you that found us, not only in this industry, but on this podcast. Let's go through some of the things and just talk about some of the things that are important to branding that our agents can use and see where that takes us.
Absolutely. So in case you don't know what branding is, let me put it into perspective for you. Marketing is asking your crush on a date, and branding is why they would say yes.
Oh,
that's one of my favorite things that I've seen. I wish I knew who said it. It just puts it into perspective. So marketing side of things, which I know we've talked about a lot, is you asking and you putting yourself out there as an agent, making sure people can find you. But branding is why they would say yes to working with you.
Would you say kind of like branding, synonym would be like reputation?
For sure. Yeah. I would agree with that.
Which we know reputation takes years, if not longer, to build and moments to destroy.
Yeah.
So you can do the same thing with your branding, where I'm sure there's some brands out there that have had large mistakes. And here's a great quote from Claire Sveck in Traverse City, Michigan. He always told me he doesn't judge somebody on the mistakes that they make. He judges them on how they correct them, which is amazing, because it's like we all know we're going to make mistakes or fall short, but it's what we do when we make that mistake that really can make that brand live on and not tarnish your reputation.
Absolutely. Yeah, branding is why people trust you. And I think what's fun about being an agent is you are your brand. So it makes it pretty simple. And unlike big corporations, you have so much more flexibility with what you're able to do and able to put out, and you can be way more authentic. So you have a lot in your advantage as an insurance agent. But let's talk about what is branding and why it matters. A little branding formula for you is branding is equal to trust, recognition, and reputation. A strong brand is going to lead to more referrals, higher retention, clients choosing you over your competitors.
We talk about the know, like, and trust a lot with people on our team. To work with somebody, you have to know, typically you've got to know them, whether it's digitally or remotely. Knowing somebody, it helps if they like you.
Yep.
And I feel like the last one, they, typically they have to trust you. They don't necessarily need to like you, but they have to trust you to work with you. What are some things that come to mind when you think of building trust? Keeping your word.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That
following through.
Yeah.
Doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, if you say, oh, I'll send you that quote this afternoon, when you don't have time.
Yeah.
You're hurting your brand. Recently I totally missed an appointment. And instead of lying about it and making up a story, I just said, I had something that rattled me this morning, and really it has thrown off my whole day. There's no excuse. I screwed up. I missed it.
Yep.
They still haven't returned my phone call, but
least you're honest.
I was honest.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And, they're busy too. So it may take some time for me to come back to, getting that relationship, where I wanted it to run that appointment.
Yeah.
But I think building that trust factor and really, I guess, meeting or exceeding the expectation you lay out.
Totally. Yep. Setting realistic expectations so that you're able to follow up on them properly and promptly to build trust and do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah. Which
And
makes a great experience for people.
for sure. And that is your brand. The experience you give to people is your brand, really. And a question for you to start thinking about is, when people think of you as an insurance agent, what do you want them to say about you?
Mm.
And just be that person and provide those experiences to give evidence of that.
There's a tactic here that I've come across before is put yourself in a position where when you're not around, people can talk about you positively.
For sure.
So like being a part of a group that meets and interacts. And then when you're not there, that group is still meeting, or that association, or that I'm thinking, joining a country club and participating in different events, and you're not going to be at all of them. But when you're not around, people have good things to say about you. And think about a referral pocket of people you were introduced to, or you get a referral that is part of a larger group, right? And that they can tell positive stories about you to those groups, and kind of teeing that up as a tactic of doing it intentionally.
For sure. So something I thought would be helpful and fun is to go through a step-by-step branding process for insurance agents. What do you think, Eric? Should we get into it?
We definitely should. Again, the point of this podcast is to give you tools that you can use to improve your business, take it to the next level that you want to achieve. We will have notes on this, so appreciate everybody listening along, but I love taking notes. It helps me retain the information.
Yeah.
But if you're driving, obviously, check out the notes later.
Yeah. And maybe just use this as you're listening, use it as a little thought exercise, just to start envisioning what your brand could be and look like. Remember that your brand is a living, breathing thing, and it can change, shift as you do. Let's get into it. The first step is defining your unique value proposition and your values. So ultimately, this is why clients should choose you and what values drive your business. Some guiding questions for you to think about here is, what makes your approach to insurance unique? Is it your expertise, your personalized value, your niche or focus? Whatever that looks like for you, what makes you unique?
Yana, that's a great point about what makes your approach to insurance unique. I've worked with a lot of different companies where they pride themselves on their service, or it's very like 10,000 foot view definitions of, well, we're just better. I know my stuff. Those types of things. I think in this day and age and in general, you need to be more specific.
Yeah.
And I think having this UVP that we're talking about, a unique value proposition, every one of you listening is unique. You need to explain how you're unique, or just tell your story, or maybe just like, I just really like who they are. I don't know that they're, one of a kind, but I just love what they're saying. I love the message behind it, or the logo, or the, whatever it is that really attracts them to you and keeps them there.
Yeah.
But you've got to tell that story, and everyone has a story. It's taking the time to write it out, to have other people give you feedback on it, to really hone in on getting that story how you want it to be.
For sure. I agree. And another question here for you to think about, to help guide you in your exploration of your unique value proposition, is, how do you want your clients to feel after working with you?
Exhausted and penniless. Just kidding.
People won't always remember what you say, and especially in insurance, what you say can be pretty confusing for people, but people will always remember how you make them feel. So after your appointment, how do you want your clients to feel? And that will make more of an impression than anything that you could say.
I think a great starting point there would be when you, our listener, insurance agent, when you interact with other services and companies, how do you like to feel after those meetings?
For sure.
And just like serve yourself,
Yeah.
right? How would I, the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you want them to do unto you.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a great start. And maybe your expectations are really low,
Yeah.
that you may need to increase them over time. But I think at the core, treating your clients how you'd want to be treated is a great, starting point. I think another important thing is to craft a memorable branding identity. And when I think about identities and branding like that, a couple things come to mind. Your personality, voice, visuals,
Mm-hmm.
a logo, colors.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much like behavioral science goes into those.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
could
you were
go
just talking.
really into the weeds on this one if we
You were
really
just
wanted
talking
to.
about colors the other day.
Yeah.
We could do a whole episode on what each color means.
We really could. Maybe we should.
I have a question for you, Yana.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about my branding and establishing consistency across all these different ways to communicate,
Yeah.
right? So we've got audio, we've got visual, as in video, we've got the written word, we've got newspapers, flyers, TV ads, all these different channels. How does one create some consistency across all those channels?
Let's start with having your brand identity established makes it easy for you to apply in all areas. So your colors, your fonts, your logos, and your values, having all of those just at least defined makes it easy to go through all of these key touch points, things like your website, your social media, your emails and newsletters, business cards, brochures, your client presentations, any way that you're involved in the community, like banners or anything like that, making sure that it's the same colors, the same fonts, your same logo is so important.
What I question with that sometimes is when I feel like people make a change or try something different when they're not getting the results that they want, right? Where I'm not getting enough leads. Maybe it is my branding. Maybe it is my font, my color.
Yeah.
I'm going to try something different.
Mm-hmm.
You had given me a stat a while back on how many times somebody needs to see something or interact with that before.
I think it's like 14.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of times to see something, and the more repetition. What is it that you always say? Practice.
Oh, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent.
Right. I think the same thing goes for repetition and seeing branding. You want to make sure that your brand looks and feels the same everywhere that your clients or potential clients see you or could see you. Something you can do is go through all of your platforms, and we will have that list below for the website, social media, just a big list for you to go through. And ask yourself, does everything look cohesive? Does everything match? Does my messaging stay consistent across my website, social media, and client emails? Am I engaging with my audience in a way that builds trust and relationships? Not only is it your visual representation, it's how you engage with people and what you say to them, how you communicate with your clients in your emails, etc. That's all your branding. Your brand is at the heart of everything that you should do.
I like that. And I get a lot of, when I get emails from our listeners and the agents that work with us, a lot of their signatures, like I've remembered the tagline. And not that I'm reading it all the time because, you get the main message and you're, responding, you're on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But having that visual there that they're seeing that, like, your advocate in the insurance world, your Sherpa, your counselor, guidance, whatever that is, whatever your tagline or feel is, consistently having that in there, that it is another touch point that helps people remember.
You want to stay consistent so that you can become more memorable.
I think about Coke and Pepsi, right? The Pepsi logo has definitely changed throughout the years. I know Coke has slightly, but it's still very much the same, just a iteration. Pepsi's got red, white, and blue.
Yep.
I could probably draw it if I needed to from memory.
Right.
That I know that logo. Obviously, everybody could probably draw a Nike swoosh.
Yep.
Having something that, as simple as that can be, repeated over and over and over again, it locks into somebody's memory.
For sure. So we just want to give you some more guiding questions here for bringing your brand to life and some things to think about. So some actionable steps here. Think about your top 3 branding goals. Is it to increase trust, improve engagement, grow your community, or even just have something established? So one of your branding goals could even just be defining my brand. Next, you're going to think about what specific steps that you're going to take to reinforce your brand. So create client success stories, build an email newsletter, be more active on social media and consistent with that. Wherever people are going to see your brand, just think about that and how you're going to reinforce it. Something else to think about is who is going to be responsible for doing these things. And if you want to outsource the creation of your brand guide to have someone read your label from outside the bottle, then do that. Don't be afraid to invest in that. It will help you. It's the core of your business. Maybe if you're just starting out by yourself, then do it yourself. But if you're looking to rebrand or you have experience now and you want to create a new brand for yourself, feel free to outsource those things.
Yeah. And like Yana said before, please run it by us.
Yeah,
We would
reach
love
out.
to help you. And you may not like what we have to say or don't agree with edits or suggestions, but at least that's a start, and
We'll be honest with you.
yeah, it gets you on your path to where you want to be. So
For sure.
continue to send us those things.
Yeah.
What happens over time? And I brought up Pepsi before. Like, how do you adjust over time and review
Yeah.
some of these branding items?
For sure. Branding is long term. It is something that you are going to continuously improve. I think a lot of people can get stuck with, oh my gosh, these are the only fonts I'm allowed to use. This is the only logo iteration I'm ever allowed to have. You can grow and evolve with your brand. You are a person. You are the center of your brand. You are always going to be growing and evolving. So your brand is allowed to too. You can decide this for yourself as to how often you would like to review your branding.
I was going to say, what would be a minimum number or time metric for reviewing your brand? I mean, daily?
Not daily.
Not daily.
The other thing with this is there's a balance because you want to be able to give your brand a shot. If you're just starting out, start with monthly. Just take a look. You don't have to change anything, but just review it and start taking notes. But I wouldn't make changes until after like 6 months.
Yeah, you've got to give it a runway and give it a chance before you go. And I would think, monthly, maybe on metrics.
Yeah.
Like if you're looking at your click rates and leads coming in and things like that. And that would be another important thing to do is if you're running, a timely promotion or a campaign,
For sure.
is keeping track of those things and those leads and seeing, hey, when I run an ad 3 weeks before AEP starts, I got a huge inflow. When I ran it a month and a half before, I didn't because it was too far out, right? Finding that right timing would be great.
For sure. And just continue to ask yourself what's working and what do you need to adjust.
What metrics should people be using to track and measure their success?
There's a few different ones that you can use. Client feedback, of course, social media engagement, website traffic. And I know that you had mentioned the amount of leads coming in. Maybe it's your client growth, how many new clients you have.
As you develop new relationships, referral partners, how many am I getting from that accountant? How many have I gotten from this physical therapist that are coming in and saying, I can love on that person more if it's really working. I can say, wow, this worked to get this physical therapist in Grand Rapids. why don't I go find a physical therapist in Lansing
Yeah,
and rinse and repeat?
for sure. And your referral partners are going to be great sources of feedback too. Asking them, hey, are people resonating with this? Do you suggest any changes to make people maybe want this more?
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
I have a question for you, Yana,
Okay.
about when you think things aren't working, or let's say you do some branding or some marketing in a way and someone has a bad experience or a complaint about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you immediately stop doing it,
No.
or
Sorry.
that was quick? What?
um, Immediately, no. Do not change your whole brand just based on one person's perspective and experience. Maybe they're not your ideal client. Maybe they don't match your brand and what you're trying to build for yourself. Do not change overnight just because one person says you should.
Well, I think everybody has an opinion.
Mhm.
I think about my EMT little bit of bringing, say I have treats, snacks, and cocktails. Maybe somebody that struggles with alcohol or doesn't want to be around it could be offended by that.
Yeah.
I'm taking a risk. Just walking into their office, I'm taking a risk.
Right.
I may offend them. So,
Yeah.
and I think taking feedback with a grain of salt
Yep.
is a great old saying where somebody gives you a bad review, somebody posts something on your social media page about how terrible you are because you didn't call them back when you said that you would, or that, oh, I can't believe they used that color, or
Mhm.
this logo makes me think of something terrible. Like, and there's a lot in there, but I
Yeah.
think it's taking it into consideration slightly, saying, well, okay, this happened once. If it happens again, happens 5 times, it's happened.
If it happens multiple times and you're losing business because of it consistently, changes need to be made.
Yeah.
But just because one person says one thing about it, maybe they're just not meant to work with you, and that's fine too. I think as insurance agents, you really have a beautiful opportunity to brand yourself and to grow your business based on who you are as a person. And if you are confident with what you're putting out, people aren't going to question it.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. We've got a couple branding mistakes to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just kind of mentioning, things don't always go perfect, but one that I think of first off, and we talked about being consistent. So being inconsistent would be a brand mistake to avoid. If your brand looks different everywhere, clients won't recognize or build that trust with you.
For sure. I think another one is overcomplicating your message. Confused clients don't buy. So keep things simple. If people can't instantly understand what you do, they're not going to understand and they're going to move on. So keep it simple.
I was just talking with Brian about this. I watch a lot of reels, and one said, more words won't help you sell.
Mm,
Having an understandable concept and making it easy to say yes
yep.
will.
That's so great. Yeah. Another common mistake that you would want to avoid as branding your business, chasing likes instead of building your brand authority. So engagement does not equal sales.
Mm.
Going viral doesn't really, it shouldn't really be a goal of yours because you never really know what that's going to turn into. Going viral and getting 1 million likes on something doesn't mean that any of those people are going to be your client. Engagement doesn't matter if it doesn't lead to real business growth.
That's fascinating because I think about it slightly different in if I could make a viral video, then a lot more people have a chance of even knowing who I am,
Yeah.
or getting that out there. But again, if it goes viral, let's say you work in, 5 or less states that you're licensed, and you go viral in one that you're not, and you're getting leads now, you created a lot of
Yeah.
headaches where you say, oh, well, I can help you next week after I get that license,
Right.
kind of thing.
Or going viral for something that's not related in any way to you or your business.
Mm,
That just makes no sense
yep. Yeah.
because it's not leading to real business growth. So work on building your brand authority. And just to put things into perspective, if you do not need a massive following to grow your business, think about these, I mean, 100 followers on Instagram. If you were in a room with 100 people, how wonderful would that feel?
Mm-hmm.
You might be a little bit intimidated. So
Right.
put it into perspective. 100 followers on Instagram are 100 potential clients. Nurture them and grow that. But you don't need thousands and millions of followers who aren't ever going to convert.
Right. Yeah, we talk a little bit about the quantity over quality,
Mm,
right? And do you want 1,000 clients that each pay you $1,
mm,
or do you want 100 clients that each pay you $1,000?
right.
Because you've gotten so much deeper with them. You know, we talk about retaining clients and building that know, like, and trust and getting referrals from them. I think it's easier to have someone give you multiple referrals
Yeah.
than to have everybody give you a referral,
Right.
and go deep with the ones that really count. Just like other relationships, friends, family, colleagues, like the ones that you really click with,
Mm-hmm.
go all in.
Yeah. Totally.
And you can use, your marketing dollars and your profit sharing and different things to invest in those relationships
Yeah.
to, one, as a thank you to them, but also, it's going to create more opportunities for you.
Totally agree. Yep. So I know that we talked about a lot of things today regarding your brand. I don't want you to feel super overwhelmed. Everything is going to be in the notes and we'll have a guide for you. Just want to close this episode out with branding is about making clients remember you and trust you.
Like everybody who is listening who hasn't joined the Facebook page, the
Mhm.
Finch community,
Yeah.
we'd love for you to join that and share one of your branding improvements that you'll make, maybe over the next month or two,
Mm-hmm.
so you can kind of help inspire others to look at theirs as well. Again, this is a community trying to help each other.
For sure. A quick actionable branding checklist for you. I'll rapid fire this one. Make sure your branding is consistent across all platforms. Post valuable content, not just engagement bait. Use stories to build credibility and trust. Stay consistent in your messaging, tone, and visuals. And focus on long-term recognition, not just short-term engagement.
I love it.
Thank you for listening, everyone. We really appreciate you. And if you got any value from this or learned something new today, please hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you on the next one.